It's a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. You're right where you should be. Miami Hurricanes live for the next hour with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Check out Cam and the rest of the staff's work there on State of the U to get yourself prepped for Miami football. And right here at the Voice of College Football, of course, bring those comments and questions into the live chat, and we will knock them out one by one. Cam, what's going on tonight?
Not a whole lot, just shaved my face and my head, so you're getting, a fresh look, and everything. But other than that, kind of just hanging out, enjoying the bye week, because at least they don't have a game that they can let me down with this week. But hey, other things like we'll talk about. But yeah, I'm doing well.
Seems like that game against Virginia was like a month ago, just because they played on a Thursday night. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, with the final result, it was for all to see. They had the college football stage to themselves. We don't have to go through the entire game, although there will be certain points that will be brought up, of course, and into the live chat that will bring us back to the game against the Cavaliers. We set it up fairly well, I believe, right here in regards to the strengths and the weaknesses of both teams. Mm-hmm. So Miami put together a nice fourth quarter and coming back from 2 scores down to put the game into their hands on a final drive with roughly 3 minutes to play, down by 2 points. And they clearly...
Well, they got the ball with 5.5 minutes left, actually.
5.5 minutes. So
5:36 is when they got the ball back after the last field goal.
Okay.
Or the last UVA punt, yeah.
Okay, so they killed the last 5.5 minutes off the clock. I wasn't taking that into consideration. I was just generally making the comment that they had the ball with about 3 minutes left in the game. Mm-hmm. So they were taking it down the field with plenty of time. Time was not a factor in the game. And they clearly wanted to eliminate the possibility of Brennan Armstrong getting his hands on the ball one last time to pull out a game. And it was all working well. They were running the ball at will. The last big play was the Cam Harris 22-yard run down to the Virginia 14 with, I believe, about 2:05 is the game time, I believe, was stuck in my head. Okay. That's been confirmed by Cam.
Yeah.
So at that point, there's a decision to be made. And do you continue to, in my eyes, you can do one of 3 things. Generally, you can either continue to run your offense and you score whenever you score. There might be 90 seconds left on the clock. There might be whatever, and you're still going to possibly throw the ball and risk throw the ball. I'm just saying that's an option, just to run your offense. Mm-hmm. There's a second option to, okay, we're eliminating the passing game. We are not going to risk throwing the football, especially with a freshman quarterback, and we're only going to run the football. But, hey, if somebody breaks a run for a touchdown, they break a run for a touchdown, and we move on from there, and we scored the touchdown, then we go out and play defense. Or you can really pack it in and say, okay, we've made it down to the 14-yard line. We're now looking at a 31-yard field goal, and we're just going to take the air out of the ball, run down the clock, eliminate their ability to come back, and leave it to our place kicker to win the game. And that's basically what they did. And I'm not saying that's the wrong call, because I think a number of factors have to be weighed here. Number one, what's your trust in your field goal kicker is first and foremost. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is, what is your faith in your ball security if you either run your offense completely or at least just run the football? And then what do you think the opposing threat is of them scoring, which I think is not astronomically high, but they have a potent offense and especially passing game. So I think once it goes awry, of course, the fan bases jump on, well, we did the wrong thing. We should have been aggressive. We should have scored the touchdown. The one thing you can control under the approach that they took is the clock. You can run it down to basically 0, end the game, versus just scoring at whatever time. There could be 50 seconds left in the game. There could be whatever left in the game. You score, and Virginia then has the opportunity to come back and win the game. So just wanted to set up at least how I look at the situation against Virginia.
Yeah, and I think that those are 3 proper scenarios that you have. After the so what I think they did is kind of like 2.5-ish, where they tried to run something, as in tried to have a running play crease them again, because we'd had success running the ball on that drive and the running, but so that's an element of your second scheme, if you will, your second scenario of run the ball, try to score, right? But where I say it's 2.5 is it's kind of between 2 and 3, because they called some of the worst running plays in the playbook and plays that had not been successful all day, that were more or less dive up the middle and see if they're going to resist it or not. So when Manny Diaz after the game said that that he was trying to have Miami score through first and second down, I believe him kind of, because those were like, huddle, snap the ball with 8 seconds left, not taking it all the way down to 1, like trying to run something. You just ran something uber conservative, which kind of then defeats the purpose of running regular offense. Cam Harris did have that big run with 2:05 left, and then was in bounds, and Virginia wasn't paying attention, or there was an injured player after the play, and he was in bounds, and so we're going to run the offense, we're going to do everything, and finally down the line, Brock Mendenhall was like 137. Whoa, hey, what are y'all doing? It's like, I said, wind it on my signal, whatever, So then they started using the timeouts in the end game scenario. So they took one then. Yeah, they took one after or before first down. They took one before second down. And then Miami had their 2 timeouts, took one before third down to decide what they were going to do. And you could hear them, because it was, sparsely populated game, or you could see on the television feed, which is in the press box as well, Rhett Lashley talking about to the left. So it's like, okay, cool. So we're going to hike it to Tyler Van Dyke, go to the left from the right hash to try to center the ball and then kick it. So it was a little bit of both, trying to run it and score, but also the conservatism of the run plays that they called, were not necessarily really trying to score. Because I think if you wanted to, you could have called another smash route to the far side of the field, because Tyler Van Dyke clearly has the arm to make that throw from the right hash to the left sideline on a smash. The outside receiver runs a hitch, the inside receiver runs a corner. Every touchdown he's thrown so far in his career has been on that concept. I know there was another one that was dropped or missed up a sideline, but he loves throwing the smash concept. So you have all the room to the left side where he dropped that in the bucket to Mike Harley for the first one in the corner. What was that, last week? Yeah, whenever he came in before. When it was against Central Connecticut State, the first touchdown in that same end zone, that same way. You can throw that if you want to. But both touchdowns that he's thrown have been on that concept. So you have the room to do it. You have a quarterback with the arm to do it and the demonstrated performance to do that, if that's what you want to do. I think that they're probably going to go with maybe something more along a passing engagement, had Virginia not called that timeout at 137. And in terms of being, confident in your field goal kicker, he's very good. I mean, the kicker's going to miss kicks, unfortunately, and he did. But, I was there at the game. He was making them from 50, 55. That would have been good from 60 in warm-ups before the first and second half. He got plenty of leg. It wasn't that it was, it wasn't the magnitude of the kick. It was the direction. That thing, my ears are still ringing from the sound of that hitting the upright. And it hit 2/3, 3/4 of the way up. So it wasn't for lack of leg strength. The thing, just the direction, it went begging a little bit and whatnot. So, it's a little bit of, it's just bad luck. Luck runs out. You make that kick against Appalachian State so that you have 2 wins right now instead of only 1. But You make a similar kind of kick, a little bit shorter, maybe about 5 yards or so, but not outside of his range, not outside of his ability, capability set or anything. It's just unfortunately, sometimes you miss them. So I'm not. Again, I think if Miami would have just run their offense after that 22-yarder from the 2:05 time, had Virginia not call a timeout, I think you probably see a pass play. If not on first down, probably on second down at that point. Because the defense, for me, go score a touchdown and leave it on the defense who's been locked down. It took a while for them to get there, but, if I have to choose one, myself personally, I would like to go score that touchdown and then have the defense go eat, because the defense was balling in that, especially in that fourth quarter and everything. So yeah, sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes you miss kicks. Florida State fans know that all too well, because they might have 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 more national championships if they could have hit a kick against Miami ever. And unfortunately, we were on the other side of that. But yeah, it's just 2 and 3 on the season, not great.
I was just curious as to whether you had an issue with the strategy.
I don't have an issue with it, especially when Virginia called their second timeout before first down. You want to run some clock. Now, I would have liked to have seen a pass on first down, because they still, if you're touched or tackled in the field of play, they're still going to call that last timeout. If it's incomplete, because you want to throw maybe that smash route to the corner that's either going to be a touchdown or incomplete, so you still have the ball, then you still have the ability to run on second down, and they're going to use their third and final timeout. So they already started, using up their ammunition, if you will, when they call that timeout before first down. And maybe, and I don't remember the formation off the top of my head. Maybe they saw something they didn't like too, because that was a really late, call for a timeout. I think that something changed for them. And I don't think it was Bronco Mendenhall just being caught unawares about the clock running. I think that they had the paradigm of Miami's just going to run. Whoa, hold on, timeout. We're not, whatever they lined up in, I'm not ready for that. But the strategy overall, again, I would have liked a different run play call, maybe. Try something else that's work. I mean, and again, you crease them going outside of the tackles on that very drive. So then why are we going to run 34 dive up the middle just to run into a massive humanity over by 91, Mandy Alonso, who went to Gulliver Prep and had 2.5, 3, 4, whatever sacks and all these pressures, couldn't block 91 for Virginia. Fifth-year senior guy who we never even looked at, but he goes there, develops down the line. You saw the impact that he had in the game. So all of a sudden, instead of running away from him, we're going to say, cool, we're going to target 91 in the run game, and we haven't been able to block him all day. That I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with the call to run it. I have a problem with the calls that they used in the run game.
It's a good point. Yeah, he was a monster. All right, everyone. Appreciate you being here on Miami Live. We got Devin Ray, basically, and he didn't pinpoint any players here, just generally star players not stepping up. Why not?
I mean, there's clearly a disconnect in the program in terms of development of the players. And, just we're seeing regression across the board from lots of different guys. And, I mean, there's been a couple of guys who have stayed at the same level, but you expect them to maybe get better and be more impactful. And you would even like to see the young guys make some plays. Bro, there were 2 balls that could have been intercepted in the end zone. Cam Kinchin's on the first drive, and then Marcus Clark. Lord Jesus, if I had to see that play again. But Marcus Clark coming in, he's a rotation defensive back, was an athlete from, when he came from high school and everything. He transitions to play defense, high points the ball. I mean, but there's a mass of bodies around, doesn't make the catch. It gets tipped around. The guy rolls around on his back, sees it pop up. Let me get that for a touchdown. But the Miami player had their hands on that ball. So if you catch that and come down with it, interception, touchback, Miami football, they don't score there. That's a huge, huge, huge play. But it doesn't even need to be a superstar player, because we had younger players who could make superstar plays, who could make program-changing plays, or these massive moments where they could step up, and they didn't. Those are the things that need to happen, And I don't need it to be a specific player. I just need the play to be made. So I didn't need it to be Tyreek Stevenson on that play because Tyreek Stevenson wasn't there to make the play. But Marcus Clark was there to make the play. And unfortunately, even with a great, what you expect to be a PBU, a once-in-a-lifetime catch happens on the other side. You know what I mean? Like, that's been the thing more for me. And then there's other guys who just, plain and simple, haven't performed. De'Aaron King being 90% of his former self and performing at, 30, 35%? Optimization from what we've seen from him, even at Miami last year. He's not the same guy, performance-wise. And I'm not going to say that it's the injury, coming back from the ACL, because he's still running. He still had a game with, 100 yards rushing. He's still throwing the ball fine. Now, I mean, I told you when I saw him coming back in that last game a couple games ago, the Michigan State game, so his shoulder's not right. Now, that's a different thing. But even before that, it wasn't like he was balling and all of a sudden got hurt and then just couldn't play anymore. De'Aaron King hasn't been playing to the level, so I don't know if it's I know it's on development in the program, but at some point you got to play for pride. At some point you got to do what needs done, and there's just guys who are not doing what needs done.
Muhammad, we appreciate you being here, and thank you so much for the Super Chat contribution. We will get to all of these right now. All right. If you did not check out our show last week prior to the Virginia game, please do so. Cam addressed in full his viewpoint on the program as it stands right now, and Manny Diaz and his leadership of the program. So it's an excellent listen. Please give it so. Mohammed, Manny is not the problem. He needs to hire real assistant coaches that can actually teach and just be the players' best friends, or not just be the players' best friends, but the biggest problem, we don't have real teachers teaching these players. Am I wrong?
I think that you're wrong in some instances. I think that Manny is obviously part of the problem. He's not the entire problem, but he's been here for 6 years now. So you can't talk about culture. You can't talk about recruiting. And my metaphorical hair, I'm going to pull out if I hear him talking about, if there's just more recruiting that can be done. Miami has more talent on the roster you can shake a stick at. I'm sorry. They just do. So, I don't want to hear anything about recruiting as a demerit or towards the level of talent that's on the roster. And I'm tired of hearing Manny talk about that. And also talking about it as though he has not been here for all of the last 6 seasons recruiting these players. So you're talking about, linebacker and everything. Oh, well, we don't have the players at linebacker. Manny, what did you coach when you were defensive coordinator? What position did you coach and recruit? Linebacker, right? How many good linebacker classes have you had? The first. Shaq, Mike, and Zach. Past that, where they been? Sam Brooks tore up an ACL in high school. Very talented, but obviously, a little bit of an open box special. Wayman Steed, clearly same thing. You have all these, Avery Huff, a very talented, multifaceted player who played linebacker, rush end, and safety in high school. But to really make him into a linebacker, maybe that's going to take a while. But you want to talk about this as we don't have enough talent. And, then citing certain positions, bro, that was your position. So I don't want to hear that. Coming back to the point, I think that there are teachers on this staff. I just don't think that everybody's a great teacher. I think that Hickson, the running backs coach, very quiet guy, great teacher. Rhett Lashley, great teacher. I think that he's really struggling with calling this offense this year. I think he's really, really struggling to find the magic sauce or find the answer to the puzzle that is presented to him by the talent that he has available to him and the way that those players are performing. So I think that he's struggling in that way, but a demonstratedly great teacher. Rob Likens at wide receivers coach, again, another great teacher, had consecutive years with first-round draft picks at wide receiver. Stephen Field, great teacher, great developer. Garen Justice, I think he's a great teacher. You've seen what he's done in multiple jobs. Where the issues come for me are on defense. I think that T-Rob, Travaris Robinson, great teacher, great developer, great recruiter. You can't assail anything that he's done. Jess Simpson as a defensive line coach, teacher, evaluator, developer, beyond par, beyond reproach in terms of that. For DeMarcus Van Dyke, it's incomplete for me because he's never done it before at this level. So I'm not going to say that he's bad. I'm just going to say I need to see more from him. But quietly, if you're looking at the way that the cornerbacks are playing throughout this season, you're seeing some development. And again, I just noted the Marcus Clark play. Now, he didn't finish the play all the way through, but he saw it, he ran, he was there, he timed it correctly. All things that cornerbacks at Miami have not previously been doing, he accomplished on that play. Didn't finish it all the way, but all the other interior pieces. So there's something to be hoped for there. Ishmael Aristide, outside linebackers, same thing. Haven't seen him at this level, coach or develop or teach, if you want to call it that. So there's a question there. Jonathan Patke, I have strong questions about him. Now, he's the brainchild behind the striker position, going to the 4-3, 4-2-5 hybrid look, whatever you want to call it, using this, the hybrid safety outside backer, which really helped when we went to that, having that player instead of the three linebackers. But past that, hasn't really done much. Linebackers haven't really been great under his tutelage. I think that he really, really got lucky that you had a really perfectly suited player for striker in Romeo Finley, before. So I think that even Romeo Finley's ability covered up some of the deficiencies of Coach Patke. Inside linebackers have not been great this year. They've actually been pretty bad. So there's that. And then special teams. Special teams have not been good at all. So, and the thing is, it was always the kicking game was the thing that would give that would hold up the special teams, because the coverage units were usually pretty bad and the return units were pretty bad. So, 4 out of 6 units on, half. So kick return. Well, no, 4. I was right. Kick coverage, kick return, punt coverage, punt return. And then you have punt and punt kick and field goal kick or place kicking. Yeah, so 4 out of your 6 specials are pretty bad. And those are both inside linebackers and specials coached by the same guy. That's really where I'm like, I don't know about that. And then Manny Diaz, you want to be the man, right? So you get rid of your defensive coordinator, say that you're going to take back the sticks, you're going to be back over there, because I'm the guy who designed this. I'm the guy who got us flying high on defense in 17 and 18 and things like that. So clearly me going back over there is going to be the panacea. I am the savior for what ails, or the cure for what ails this defense, and defense looking not great for large swaths of this season. And so he, as a coach or teacher, his performance now brings him off of, or being from beyond reproach and without question, to definitely being on the questionable side. So, that's 4 guys on the defensive side of the ball, 2 of them brand new, and one of them was good and turning not great, and the other one has never really been good. That's where I would say the lack of teaching is readily apparent on this coaching staff, but it's not across everybody. And yeah, I just think that there's a lot that goes into it, and we've talked about it before. I think that they're playing the wrong players. I think that they're really embracing seniority at the expense of the increased talent and athleticism that will actually improve the performance on the field. So there's some things going right over there, and there's a lot of things going wrong. And the coaching and development is a major thing, because again, if you're going to have a coach talking about we need to recruit better, which is saying we need to have better players, then look in the mirror and ask yourself how and why you are not developing all the blue chip talent that you have on this roster. Because at every position, there are multiple players of blue chip caliber status that many colleges around the country wanted, that we got at the University of Miami, and who are playing terribly. And it's not 100% on the player. You got to look at the program. You have to look at the coordinated path of development, and you have to look at how you're using these players, because you're not using them to their highest ability.
I got to say, I hate when this happens. I had Ronan's super chat all lined up to post to the screen, and then the the chat adjusted and it's now off the screen and I can't grab it. But Ronan, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Ronan had something to say about Blake James, basically just not satisfied with Blake James. Otherwise, just
I mean, you know, if like sports is a results based business, right? So the athletic department, let's look at programs that have had decreased performance recently in the last, we'll go 4 years. Let's see. Men's tennis, baseball, basketball, men's and women's, clearly football, track and field. Swimming and diving has been good. Women's tennis had an individual national champion who got back to the championship match the year after and then lost that one in straight sets. So that would hold up, the women's tennis side of things. But if you're looking at major and even ancillary sports, most of them have had either par level performance or decreased worse performance over the course of time. The athletic director is in charge of athletics. So you set up a program, a comprehensive program that should compete, right? You would think in competitive athletics. That's not happening. And it's not just football. And you can go look up the records. It's not just football. It's all these other sports as well. And at some point, that has to reflect on leadership. And I'm not just talking about a singular head coach. I'm not talking about just Manny Diaz. It has to go back on Blake James. But if he has the implicit, just carte blanche from President Frank, who's an academician at heart, and look, whatever, I was a teacher, I'm an academician, I get it, and saying, cool, I'm going to let the athletic people do athletics, but the performance of those people doing those jobs or in those roles is substandard. At some point, it has to come to pass where you look at that person. And so I completely understand everyone's understandable outrage at Blake James and the job that he's doing, because under his direction, Miami Hurricanes athletics has gone backwards across the board, with the exception of a couple really great individual swimmers and divers, and Estella Perez Somariba, who won a national championship in singles tennis and was runner-up another year. Outside of those individuals, it's not been great for Blake. So something got to change. But again, if he's not having accountability held on him, when's the change going to come from?
Do you recall his background and experience before this job?
I don't.
I was just curious.
Let's hit the Googles real quick.
Because obviously his
I remember he started here. Yeah, he was like in the ticket department. Yes. Yes. He started at the ticket department at And so there's a bunch of stuff with that. Interim athletics director, senior associate ADs for development, meaning donations, and ticket operations, where he oversaw day-to-day operations of development, ticket sales, and ticket operations. He was also on the senior staff, and then he was at the University of Maine, began as a senior associate athletic director, and then he was the AD at the University of Maine, and before that, Providence College. And then they list, a fundraising campaign that he started there. So clearly the lean on him is in terms of development, i.e. donations.
So while Providence College has a major basketball program, he has not had to lead this size of a athletic department by any stretch.
No. And look, you all, everybody gets experience somewhere before they get, into another job. So, I'm not going to say the fact that he was in ticket operations is not, is a disqualifying factor, but he went from there to, Providence and Maine and things like that, really focused on, driving revenue. And hey, look, money makes the world go round. I'm not saying that, that's a skill that is not needed. However, the running of a championship caliber or a growing and competitive athletic department is just simply something that I think is outside of his knowledge and performance base. Sorry, boss.
Alan Perez, we appreciate your contribution tonight. Thank you so much for that.
Alex.
What did I say?
Allen.
Oh, I apologize. I thought I had said Alex correctly. Apparently not. My apologies, Alex. Miami's so soft nowadays. Alex brought a Fire Manny sign to the last game and stuff at the rack.
Staff at the Hard Rock Stadium.
Oh
made him throw
man,
it
I
away.
do need to put my contacts in or my glasses. Made me throw the sign away before I could enter.
I'm not sure what the policy on signs is at Hard Rock Stadium. And sometimes they will look the other way, but especially if you have athletic department staffers around, which you do, they're going to gently remind at the pregame meeting, hey, just let it be known if anybody has any of these things, either confiscate or make them trash or walk back to their car, whichever. But yeah, so not surprised. And, you really didn't see many of those things when Golden was here either. That's why we had to fly the planes. So, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, I don't think that that's brand new. Like, Miami fans had to resort to something else because it was like, cool, we cannot bring it into the stadium because those are stadium rules and everything. So, to get our feelings out and to have our message be known, we have to do something else. So, Alex, I think that you now intimately understand why, the banner planes and things like that always fly over. And it was funny because they were there during the Michigan State tailgate. And the plane guy flew by and he's like, you might need this space eventually. 1888 fly signs or whatever it is. He was just like, it's not today, but it's going to happen. And here's my number behind this plane. So give me a call when it's time. And I think it might be time. Anyway, yeah.
We had a conversation the other day and I gave my rundown of what I would be looking for in an athletic director without really, if it was seriously my job to appoint an athletic director, of course, I would give it much more research and thought. But off the top of my head, Terry is nominating Alonzo Highsmith for AD, who I believe is now working for the Cleveland Browns, and Luke Fickell, of course, the Cincinnati Bearcats head coach, for head coach.
Alonzo Highsmith has worked with the Green Bay Packers in the front office for many years, transitioned to the Cleveland Browns in front office and leadership roles. That he has not at the college level, but I would say enough experience in a leadership role, like, senior football director or whatever the actual titles were that he has had in the NFL. So he has an experience where, you're balancing, the salaries and the staffs and the budgets for these, like all these different kinds of things. Even though you do have a budget that's pretty built in with the NFL and you don't have to do the development piece that we were just talking about with Blake James, but I think that he has the personality for it for sure. So I'm not going to disqualify him. I'm not going to necessarily say it should be him, but I think that he has the credentialing that you would need. Now, I don't know if they have, and I don't know if he has a master's, and I don't know if that's a prerequisite for being athletic director, but I believe it probably would be. So I'm not sure if there's that, which would be a disqualifying factor, or something that would need the university to give an individual waiver for to bring on someone of that ilk. Luke Fickell can coach football, man. He has Cincinnati in the top 10. They're trying to push for a playoff spot this year. They just went into Notre Dame and beat the Golden Domers, which I love. And I talked about it last week, how Desmond Ridder was just like asked about, how do you think you're going to do in a loud, raucous environment? It's going to be so loud there in Notre Dame Stadium. He's like, they're not going to be loud for long. And went and made them shut up. Bro, energy. I love that. Luke Fickell, it might not be sexy, but winning games is damn sexy to me. So, he's on my list for sure. Because if he's from Ohio, he probably wants the O-State job, and Ryan Day is probably not leaving anytime soon. If you are a coach who can come down here and win at Miami, you can pretty much almost write your ticket anywhere, whether that's in, college or the pros, and it's clearly on some level rebuilding process to get Miami where everyone would like them to be. So there's that. I wrote it in 2015. I keep saying Lane Kiffin. I'm with it. Other people are still saying Mario Cristobal. Miami alum, 2-time national championship offensive lineman. I'm with that as well. My boy JP has been hard on Mark Stoops from Kentucky, former defensive back coach at the University of Miami. Coach Sean Taylor, coached Ed Reed as a safeties coach here. Has been all over, and that's just a team that plays hard. And it's Kentucky, so like you're getting the most out of these players. Like you're only getting a handful of 4-stars. You're never seeing a 5-star, but you're developing them and you're playing in the SEC and you beat Florida 2 times out of 4 when they've only beaten Florida once in the previous or twice in the previous 30 years. You know what I mean? Like there's some guys out there that you can go get, or that there you can have a conversation about getting. But in general, I think that my stance is going to be we need to spend a little bit more and on coaching, especially the head coach. And this is not a training wheels job anymore. This is not your starter job before you get the forever job. This is not, my first house, my first apartment before, I rent a townhouse, before I buy a townhouse, before I buy a single family home, this is not your starter apartment. This is not your first place at 23 in New York City when you're, waitressing and, trying to hit auditions during the day and make it big as an actress. This is not that job. And Miami needs to stop treating itself that way and cutting themselves out at the legs before they even get started. So that'd be my thing. So, whether it could be one of those names or potentially another one, that's what I would look at. Go and get a sitting head coach from somewhere. Get him up off of his job where he's done a good job and bring him over to the University of Miami. But again, this is all speculative because we still have a coach. But for how long we know, I don't know because, again, I'm just counting down the days. So,
well, Mark Stoops is an intriguing prospect because, to your point, he has taken a situation in which he is at a clear disadvantage at a school that's not known for football. And it's not like he's suddenly bringing in top 10 classes in the country. He's upgraded the recruiting considerably. If you look at the recruiting classes that he has versus his predecessors, they used to recruit like in the 60s or 70s. Now they're in the 20s and 30s, but it's still not the type of classes that typically compete in the SEC. So he has clearly found a way to scheme, coach, develop the talent to a near maximum level to, they're not Georgia or Alabama, but they're pretty consistently now a top 25 program that's going to go 8-4. They had a 10-3 top 10 season a couple of years ago. They're doing about as well as
and the thing about
ever done.
Right, and especially if you think about it, they had that 10-3 season 2 years ago, and are still playing to a pretty comparable level. That's without the Terry Wilson kid at quarterback, where it was like, well, basically it's the force of him at quarterback, as though he were Cam Newton at Auburn. Like if you take him out, then everything's going to fall apart. He's not there anymore, and you're playing pretty much the same, if not a little bit better. That's a testament to the program that's been built. That's a testament to the coaching, and again, I'm not saying that it 100% should be Mark Stoops, but sure, if you're listening to the sound of my voice and you did what you probably did, and I said Mark Stoops, you said, from Kentucky? And then I started talking, and then Mark responded, we keep talking, like, well, okay, there's something to be said for that. And again, this is a guy who's taken a team that was recruiting in the 70s and 60s up to recruiting into the 20s and 30s. That's a massive, massive ask. And again, Miami's gone and got guys off of them. Jaron Williams, let me get that. You know what I mean? Even though Jaron Williams now third string at USF, my God. But still a blue chip 4-star quarterback, top 155 player in the country that lots of places wanted. He was committed to Kentucky, and then Miami swoops in and says, come on, bro. All right, cool. Like that's what Mark Stoops is facing on the recruiting trail, and still has found a way to build what he's built. Bro, come on. There was a question about Eric Bieniemy.
Yes.
I think that he is probably on the fast track to an NFL job. I don't know why he didn't get one this past year. Likely, Jacksonville had the number 1 pick, got a quarterback, well, you're going to get a quarterback in Sunshine Lawrence, whatever. But if he wants to come here at Miami And the thing about it, he hasn't recruited before. But then again, as the offensive coordinator in KC with Mahomes, and a Super Bowl win and a Super Bowl loss in 2 years, in 2 of the 3 years, that's something that you can lean on. So I'm not opposed to it. But and to the person who said Art Briles, no. To anybody who ever says Hugh Freeze, no. That's a flat no from me. That's 100%. And this is coming from the guy who no longer eats at Subway because of the malfeasance of Jared Fogle. Like, literally, when that came out, that was the last day that I ate at Subway. I don't do it anymore. So for some things, like, I will accept your apology and wish you well, but I'm not going to forget and I'm not going to get over. I mean, how many times have you heard me, wax poetic about what Brian Kelly did? I'm not a person who forgets. So with those guys, with Hugh Freeze and with Art Briles, they can coach up some offense. They sure can. They can do it somewhere else. Thanks.
Chuck C. Hi, guys. I wasn't a proponent of just changing coaches until recently. With no support and all of the noise, Manny can't keep control and enough respect now anyway. I love Stoops as a candidate.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who are coming around. I know that there were people who were shocked a couple weeks ago after Michigan State when I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm just playing out the string. We're going to see how this story ends. But, like, I already have a draft written for when Miami and Manny Diaz part ways. On my computer, I got to put it into the editorial system here soon, and everything. Like, I'm out on that. The control part is funny because that's what I was going to mention. So a report from the Miami Herald that has since been confirmed, or not confirmed. What's the term? Confirmed. Well, seconded, I guess. Confirmed by Manny Navarro of the Athletic, stated that there was a fist fight at practice today, followed by a players-only meeting to iron out some issues, quote, as brothers do. And I mean, I saw JT, shout out to JT on Twitter, JT, not JP, Kane Grad 05. And he quoted it, and it was basically what I thought. It's like, cool, so the players want to fight fans on social media. They want to fight each other in practice, but show no fight against actual opposition on the field on game days. Cool. Everything's going great. So, there's a little joke in there, but there's some truth as well. Because, and I get that you want to be frustrated and fight each other. I mean, like, shoot, like when I played basketball, I had a teammate with a very specific first name. So I'm not going to say what it is, but he was very dirty on the court. He was dirty. And he pulled every dirty trick in the book. And when I was a sophomore, I was behind him. I was the first guy off the bench, and he started at the small forward spot, and then I would come in behind him. So in practice, 1s versus 2s, stars versus backup unit, I would be guarding him, and he dove through my legs one day, or he tried to trip me, like sweep my leg as I'm running up the court. And I told him, I said, you're going to watch that. And so the next play, it was a loose ball on the other side of the court, and he dove through my knees, and then like we had it out, like we swung like fisticuffs, like, yo, like letting hands go, like all that. Like, no, I'm not having it. So I'm not even a person, because that story tells you what? I fought in practice when I played sports in high school. So I'm not going to sit here and say fights don't happen or anything, or like, whatever. But like on Tuesday of a bye week, when you've been this kind of passive against all these teams that have come, and all these games have been home games. I mean, the Alabama game was a neutral site, but you're the home team. And every other game, 4 weeks in a row, has been where? Here, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. But you didn't show any of this kind of energy. You had none of this. And then you want to do it in practice and everything? Like, y'all for show, man. Like, and that's not even getting to an unspoken point that we're 2-3 in 5 home games, basically, or 4 home games. We're 2-2. We're about to start to hit the road. You know what I mean? We're going into hostile environments. You think that And you can't even get the job done now, but y'all want to fight in practice. On a week where you don't even got a game. It's not even like, oh, I'm fighting right now on Tuesday to get on first team, so on Saturday I'm starting. Yo, I got a game this week. And you want... Next.
Let's get to our next question, and then I've got a coaching candidate to offer up. 247 Canes. Miami has a developmental problem, not a recruiting problem. Bring in a great recruiter doesn't solve the problem. We need someone like Kirk Ferentz, Iowa.
Yeah, I mean...
Guy's a tremendous coach. He may be a little bit older than what I would be looking for.
Yeah, no, exactly. He's been there for 20-something years now. He's not leaving from Iowa. I get that's the archetype that you want.
Yes.
But, I mean, yeah, it's more development than recruiting. And we've seen, it's funny, one of our guys, let me get the name right because I don't know which one this was. This was Carl Bleich. He wrote a piece when Manny Diaz got hired about, ranking the coaches post Butch Davis for the Miami Hurricanes. And then he's reheated that like, okay, so, 5 games into this season with the record as it is and like the career record for Manny Diaz, where do things stand? Rank the coaches, ever since Butch Davis. Every single coach has found a way to recruit here. You know what I mean? Al Golden recruited. Now, he missed on some and made some unwise choices on others, but still recruited well. Randy Shannon, #1 class in America. Didn't do anything with them, but went to Miami Northwestern and got all the dudes from that mythical high school national championship team, went around the state of Florida, got other guys for the #1 overall class in America. Larry Coker recruited his butt off. Like I said, Randy Shannon, Al Golden, Mark Richt, Manny Diaz. Doesn't matter the name. I mean, there's only 5 names, but it doesn't matter the name. There's been recruiting and good recruiting, top 25, top 15 in some instances. And, I would probably say in the last 20 years, maybe a little bit under half, top 10 recruiting. You're going to get talent here, but we're clearly not developing it. So I agree. Now, the archetype for a coach of the Kirk Ferentz mold, who's really development heavy. You know what I mean? Because they're not going to get big, star players there. It's going to take some time to grow them. I understand that. But I just think that a coach who coaches better, I think that will see the kind of development that you need to have. But yeah, I think I do agree with the poster there. It is much more a development problem than it is a recruiting problem. And you can look back for many, many years with that.
Okay. Well, there's a coach who's been in the news recently for certain activity in certain public places. Now, this particular coach, I know you don't like him for 2 different reasons, but we're also talking about a coach who's far more accomplished than anybody who's been mentioned. Far more accomplished.
Say it.
Urban Meyer.
Sign me up. Sign me up. Sign me up. I mean, put a morals clause in his contract or whatever. Sign me up. Sign me up. You want to talk about if you believe Manny Diaz's statement that recruiting needs to improve for the product on the field to improve. Bring in Urban Meyer. And you might actually see a Miami Hurricanes recruit from Polk County for the first time in 20, 30 years. Because that's where Lakeland is, Lakeland Kathleen, Lakeland Senior High School, and all pipeline to UF. Think of all them dudes. The Pouncey twins are from there. Chris Rainey's from there. There's all kinds of dudes from there. And Polk County, that's Gator territory. There was a kid who someone in the comments asked me about earlier this season, right before the season. I was like, oh, I think I remember the name. He's a blue chip guy. Let me Lakeland, never mind. Gone. Done. Period. Like, off rip. I'm not even going to recruit there because why am I going to waste my time talking to somebody who's not going to come over here? You bring in Urban Meyer, maybe that's possible. And hey, look, tell me he can't go into any living room with credibility, whether it's from coaching at UF, whether it's coaching from O State, whether it's one of the 3 national championships he's won. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's not going well at the NFL level because I don't think that's for him. But hey, you know, I'm so good. They called me from retirement to go coach in the NFL because that's how I am. But you know what? I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to come back and I want to rebuild the U because there's no brand that's stronger and no brand this strong has not achieved to the level. But that's in the past, and now I'm here. And not only am I here, I'm going to bring your son with me to Coral Gables, where we're going to grow him as a man and as a player. And like so many other players that I've coached, he's going to go to the NFL and make you both proud and rich at the same time. So I'm going to let you think about that, and I'm going to go talk to somebody else. And hey, if you don't want to come to Miami, that's okay. I wish you all the best, but I hope you don't come to an ACC team because if you do, we're going to beat you because that's how I am, and that's what I do. Whether it's at Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, or O State, go look at the numbers. Go check my films. I'll call you guys next week. Thanks for the meatloaf, Mom. Have a great night.
Except Urban Meyer wouldn't say O State.
I mean, yes, he would not say that, but you know what I mean? But tell me he couldn't go and have that speech in any home and not have credibility. Now, you want to talk about, you know, obviously he was caught with the attractive young lady at the bar who's not his wife, you know, dancing and grinding and other things. Fine. You want to talk about, I mean, hell, even if you want to bring up Aaron Hernandez, look, I recruited the guy, played here, everything. Didn't do anything when he was here, walked the straight and narrow. I didn't know that he was gang affiliated. I did not know that he was going to do the things that he did. So that's an outlier. But if you look at everything else in my program, we never had anything like that. And so even if you want to have a negative attack like that, I think that there's a talking point to be made opposite that. But if he wants to come down here, come on. Coach, what do you need? What infrastructure do we need to put in place? And where do I sign?
I actually think that while he ran too loose of a ship at Florida, I do think that he learned from that at Ohio State. There was a coaching situation but from the player standpoint, he didn't have any issues. They had one serious issue when he was first there, and he dealt with it very harshly and suspended players for 5 games, Carlos Hyde included. So he dealt with that and then didn't have any issues past that. And man, you're looking at a guy that if you look up all-time winning percentage, the 2 guys above him have black and white pictures from the 20s. They're Newt Rockne and Frank Leahy. So that was a different sport. Post-World War II, he is the best winning percentage in college football history, even better than Nick Saban's.
Hey, man, and I don't think that anything that he's done is a disqualifying factor to me, as such as Art Briles, such as what's his face, Freeze. You know what I mean? But yeah,
I would just find it fascinating. As a neutral bystander, I would just find it fascinating. Just like I would have found it fascinating had he gone to USC as rumored, to see, okay, here's a school that's got everything at their disposal. I would think that he would go in there and think, I can run the Pac-12. This is, not difficult.
You're still the number 1 team in LA, like football wise. I know that they got, other teams out, the pro teams and everything, but like SC, bro. And I know people will joke, oh, University of South Central. Okay. All right. Like, yes, it is not out in, Inglewood, like UCLA. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean,
and so in a similar fashion, he comes to Miami, looks at the ACC, and I'm not discounting Clemson. They're having their struggles, but I don't think that that's maybe program-wide. But maybe they have seen their best days, and maybe he comes in and just tears it up.
The talent is there. It's uncontrovertibly there, and he's not somebody who would be afraid of playing, I think, the right guys. Now, I will always go and say, I understand why the move was made, but Cam Newton should have been playing at Florida over Tim Tebow. I get why they played 15. But Cam Newton did everything in a single season that Tim Tebow did in an entire career. And would have done that and more because he's a better physical player, period. Like, whatever. But I get the ancillary. I get it. That notwithstanding, playing the best guys. Percy Harvin as a freshman, cool. Rainey, Pouncey twins, other dudes come straight in off the street from high school, get them fitted up for a helmet and some shoulder pads. They're going to start with the 3s. They're going to be with the 2s by the end of the week. And then by next week, after the first scrimmage, if y'all don't make plays, one of these freshmen are going to be on the field. And they did. And you could look at it. I don't think it would be the same thing that we're crying about with, not playing the more talented players, which is a thing that Miami's been doing, and then just to, again, here Manny Diaz 2 weeks ago before the Virginia game talking about, well, I can't see a guy maybe going from having a big role to zero. Like, I don't know how you can go from 100% usage for that player to 0 if they're not good enough. Like, what are we talking about? But Urban Meyer, that wouldn't be a conversation. We wouldn't be talking about, we're going to give the, 17-year senior Matt Harpering, honorary starting positions to these players. No. If you're here for a 5th year and you didn't get injured, something went wrong. I mean, at most places, honestly, at most positions. Because if you're getting these blue chip guys, you're going to their living room and saying you're going to be 3 years in a first round draft pick. That's what you want all these All-Americans to do. I've talked to college coaches. I've talked to high school coaches. I've talked to very, very, very well-known college coaches, a couple that are still coaching, assistant and head coaches about this. Talking about this is why we come to these places to go up to these guys to be 3 years in a first round draft pick. Now, maybe you got a couple of guys in front of him. So instead of DJ Williams playing fullback his freshman year and then transitioning to linebacker like he did when he came to Miami just to get him on the field, maybe you redshirt him and then you play him for 2, maybe 3 years. So you're in year 4. If you're in year 5, maybe you got injured. Maybe you got injured and redshirted. You know what I mean? But like, if you're in year 5, something probably went wrong because no, I'm going to make you good enough and we're going to win enough that y'all are going to get out of here. Look at Clemson. Look at O State, look at Georgia, look at Alabama. How many of those guys are there for 5 and 6 years? Not many, because they're hitting their metrics. They're not getting injured. They're winning lots of games, and they're getting up out of there. So 5 years, no, we're not going to have ceremonial starting positions unless it's going to be the 1 year of DJ Shockley at Georgia, just because our generational cornerback or our better 5-star quarterback is coming next year. So, we're going to ride this guy this year just to bridge that gap. That 1 year of Kelly Bryant at Clemson. He was not going to be the future at Clemson, but he was the starter for that 1 year in between when they had Deshaun and when Sunshine was coming on campus. Past that, I'm not going to have many 5-year guys. And at those schools I named, you don't have many 5th-year senior starter guys because they get them up out of there. That's what I'm trying to see.
The last point I'll make about Urban Meyer involves recruiting, and that's certainly at Florida and at Ohio State with really good coaches, talking about Jim Tressel and Dan Mullen. They're going to recruit in the top 10 or so anyway because they're that type of place. But with Urban Meyer, that like average 7, 8, 9 recruiting class becomes, I'm looking at Florida, 1, 2, 5, 7, 1, 1. Ohio State was always 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah. So
I don't know what that is. now he can splash the national championships. Before, I don't know what it was. Just he's always talked about the grind of recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, you're out there and you're selling them on things, and I mean, that's just like, it's the power of personality, and clearly he has a strong personality to be able to do that. But I mean, again, if you're trying to say, or if you believe Manny Diaz saying, we need to recruit better to win, go back 20 seconds ago, listen to the rankings of the classes that Mark just said, and then there's your improvement. To the Bullyville, the previous super chat, first of all, thank you. My name starts with a C, not a K, like Kinchin's. Cam, C-A-M-E-R-O-N. Cameron is my name. But I appreciate the super chat. how can I be in on Urban Meyer as coach, but like not on Hugh Freeze or eating Subway because of Jared? Because he hasn't done anything of that ilk. Like, he hasn't done anything like that. I'm not saying that he's a perfect man, and because there are no perfect people. But he's not done anything to me that I would write him off or disqualify him for. Feel free to disagree. I'm fine with that. We can discuss it. Hop in my mentions on Twitter at Underwood Sports. Let me know. We can do the conversation there. But there has not been that act from Urban Meyer, in my estimation. So those are my feelings about it.
And I only removed that post from the screen because I thought you had made that pretty clear. Falconer X, thank you so much. We always appreciate you being here. You know that. Get to the league, get paid. Miami will let you finish your degree.
The pioneers of this, by the way, if you see, there's a lot of other guys in the NFL who went to other schools and then, worked out. I mean, they probably had to pay something, but like, will come back to the University of Miami and then finish their degree or get their, certificate or whatever. Miami was the first one who was like, yo, Mark, go to the league, do that. And in the off season, while you're training, you're going to take some classes. We'll get your degree finished, still on scholarship, the scholarship that we brought you here for. We're going to fulfill that all the way to the end. Other schools have now taken that paradigm, that structure from the University of Miami. But if you go back into the 80s and 90s, the U was the only school that was doing that. And that's another way that this U family is just different than anywhere else.
There's a pretty interesting YouTube video with Urban Meyer talking to the Ohio High School Athletic or Coaches Association. So there's a room with probably 100 high school football coaches in Ohio, and he's basically talking to them about how you become, and he's a psychology major. That's part of it. He's really into that side of it, winning people over, building relationships, that sort of thing. And just talking about that, he tells his coaches, if our players aren't getting it, it's not their fault, it's your fault. You figure out a way to get through to that individual. If they're falling asleep during the team meeting, if they're, looking at their phone, whatever they're doing, then you're not aggressive enough. You're not entertaining enough. You're not teaching them in a way that they can understand it. He gave a great example of a particular player that they had at Bowling Green, actually, that they had to go to great lengths to actually, and came to the conclusion, this individual is dyslexic. Nobody knew this before, but we figured it out, and now we can teach them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, those are the things, the levels that you have to go to. And I mean, having been a career teacher for 15 years, like even in the same room, you're going to have to use different techniques to get to different people. And, sometimes you're going to have to be loud. Sometimes you're going to have to be, quiet about it. Sometimes you're going to have to use, whatever allegories. Sometimes you're going to have to just be very straight. This is this, 7 steps, 90 degree to the sideline, catch the ball, stop. There's different ways that you're going to have to do. And yeah, it's completely on the teacher if the content is not being absorbed, not the student, because they're the ones who are there. It's your job to bridge that gap.
This is a funny comment, but I actually understand what he's saying if he's communicating this in the way that I think. Urban Meyer's an old person. Well, Urban Meyer's like 56 or 7, something like that. But there is a point in which, and it's a different point for different individuals. Nick Saban is the outlier where you pass your prime. And I think that in this case, it's worth that minor risk that he could be past that, like, just full of energy, top of his game, arguably the best coach in America guy. But it's, shoot, if you get 80% of that.
If you get 80% of that, then you get better than Mark Richt's tenure here.
Yeah.
Like, because we got, probably 85% of Mark Richt, and that was still a 10-win season. And if we get 80% of the winningest coach since World War II, better than we've seen. But again, all this is hypothetical because there's still a guy who's inhabiting that office for right now. But how long was? I'm going to stand by what I said a couple weeks ago. He's not making it to Halloween. I'm not a person who's going to say that I'm going to eat fecal matter on live stream or anything like that, because I'm not doing any of that. So get that out of your brains already.
I want to get it out of my brain.
No, I mean, but you've seen people who will make those outlandish claims and then that thing come true, and they're like, "Oh, well, that would be a health and safety hazard." Yeah, I'm just not going to do that kind of thing. I don't know what I would say would be an outlandish thing, but it would have to be something. But I would bet, and I'm not really a betting man, but I do have a couple extra little nickels and dimes, maybe a couple of dollars over here. But I would put good money on the fact that come November 1st, we're at an interim head coaching thing. I don't think Manny Diaz makes it even to Halloween. I really don't. I really don't.
Falconer X, you were the king of the super sticker. We posted your super sticker. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Whatever that is, still, we don't know, but we appreciate it every week. And now saying that Al Golden was a young person.
I mean, yeah.
To basically say, I don't care, I think. Young or old, just be good at what you do.
Yeah, exactly. So,
all right, good stuff. Well, Cam, it's always appreciated. Let folks know what you got in store and available there at the State of the U.
We got a bunch of stuff that's up on the site right now. I'm working on a couple of other things behind the scenes. So, I always have a couple of pieces for you every single day. Lots of good discussion topics. Like I said, ranking the top 5 or the coaches since Butch Davis. Justin DeTavio put up a thing about excuses and the culture. Marsh Thomas with his new stock report, who's up and who's down this week. We got the recruit recap. We got the ACC power rankings. The state of Florida team power rankings. I'm going to hop in there with a recruiting piece probably this week or next, probably hopefully before the next game, and other good stuff like that. So, tons of commentary and analysis and a great community. So please come on over and fan with us, just like you see on the banner there. Stateoftheu.com is the website, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports, where I'm going to be tweeting about some kind of thing. And in case you were wondering what I was watching last week, Squid Game on Netflix. Cannot recommend it highly enough. I was on episode 5, the time that we last recorded. I think I finished it that night or the next night of the 9 episodes. It's a K-drama. It's really dynamic. I think if you watch the first episode, you'll know what you're in for. It really portends the rest of the story well. There are a couple of curveballs in there and everything, but the set design is incredible. The scoring is incredible. The performances are really, really great. I'm a person who likes subtitled, so you can hear the actual native language. Whether that's Lupin, which is in French. There's another show that's in German that I've been meaning to watch, and then this one in the Korean. You can hear the emotion, and everything in the native language that is really lost in the translation. There was actually somebody who put a really long thread on Twitter about how the translation, the voiceover, the dub was really bad, and the subtitle is still not even the greatest. But still, yeah, I'd like it. I'm already halfway through my second watch of it. It's really incredible. So that was what I was watching. I got other stuff coming up, and I'm gonna stop talking because Mark is gonna get out of here for another show. But as always, thank you for watching.
Cam, we appreciate it. Ranking coaches since Butch Davis. That sounds like something I would like to check out. I love rankings. All right, everyone.
We gave the arguments, and then you can make your own rankings, but we'll have that soon.
We'll be back here, everyone. Hopefully next Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So be here and bring some folks with you. We'll see you then.